So it's December 12th, 2014. I was just talking about how the Ballingers knew and talked about this guy named Chris. And later in high school, Christy Ballinger was very good friends with a guy named Chris, who was a completely different Christopher and Chris. And but that's not the Chris that was around or that they were talking about when I was a kid, when I was younger. Because the Chris that they had around me or were babysitting at that time was blonde. And I think that it was Dabney. I might be wrong about that. But it is sort of strange that they had this whole thing set up where I was supposed to pose in front of a Santa, you know, like Alvaro Pardo had me do exactly like they did. And Alvaro Pardo also took me to a hairdresser who had a hair salon inside of her own house, kind of just like Sandy Ballinger had when I was with him. And so the Ballingers were connected to Alvaro Pardo, but which makes it slightly more likely that this person, Chris, that I remember them talking about, and there could have been more than one, for sure. But it makes the odds more likely that they did know Chris Dabney, because Chris Dabney was somehow connected to Alvaro Pardo. And he was definitely connected to some of the other Sherwood kids. For example, Erica Wiltbank. And some of and Nathan Bechtold, because Nathan Bechtold was helping some of the older adults with this little summer school thing that they had that was kind of short term in the Dryden area in Washington. I think it was in Washington, but you know, most of the kids that were there were Oregon kids. Although Chris Dabney was there, and I knew that he was not living regularly in Oregon or Washington at that time, as far as I knew. What I had heard is that he lived in D.C. or Virginia or somewhere on the East Coast, and I remembered that because I thought, how come he's all the way over here, you know, in this weird school thing that they have set up. So, so these are a number of individuals that, and Mike Tanzer. I don't remember ever seeing Ballingers, Christy, or Erica ever around Mike Tanzer when he was a little kid. And, you know, possibly I might remember something later, but if they did, maybe he was really little. But I really don't remember him being around either one of them. What I remember is that Lonnie Ballinger was definitely around Joy Sterling Tanzer. So Mike Tanzer's mother, Joy Sterling, worked with Lonnie Ballinger, Erica Ballinger's mother. And I saw them together in a number of places, including the inside of FBI offices and out, quote unquote, you know, on the field in other locations. Also at a shooting range once. So, and I'm not sure that the shooting range situation was the same one that involved Bob Jordan, but it's possible. I just know that Lonnie Ballinger and and Joy Sterling definitely knew of each other and worked together. So here were all of these people, Bechtolds, Tanzers, this H&R Block woman, Jewish tax woman, Brian Haynes's family, Alvaro, and then there were some others. And they all knew Ballingers. So I'm explaining first how I saw them and where I saw them with the adults, how young the kids were at the time when I was getting set up as a little girl, basically. And then all of those things factor into why this has been into sort of proving that this was not just like I was claiming that people were raping me randomly. These were people that were stalking me and set me up to look bad and to rape me purposefully, who had a plot against me for a very long time. And decades later, they had their own kids involved in coordinating my being humiliated and raped. And then they wanted it to look like I was a liar, I think, or just to discredit me, and like, it's too unbelievable that, yeah, all these people raped you, right? And yes, all these people are stalking you. Just the more that they got involved in that, the less likely maybe others who are totally outside of this loop or group were to believe me and believe any of this was really happening to me. And haven't really gotten to the part about next the situations that were specific to setting me up to be raped by these different men, and I haven't mentioned all of the men either. But I think that's what I'm going to say for right now, because this is like because I had to give a background of how the families were known to begin with, and then I can go to explain how they specifically set me up in locations with timing and coordinating these rape events to happen against me when I was older. So that is what I can do for now. It's not exactly